Hello everyone and welcome to today's SmackDown watch party with myself, Tom Colohue. We are looking at a tag team championship match, a fatal four-way to determine a new number one contender for the Intercontinental Championship match, and I'm sure plenty of Sami Zayn as we continue the build towards the main event of Elimination Chamber, which will be Roman Reigns versus Sami Zayn. But first, the big question. He ain't Uso, he's my brother. Where is Jey Uso? That's the question that WWE are building this show around. Will it be answered early? Will it be answered late? Will he make an appearance tonight? Or are we going to have to wait for the final few minutes? Jey Uso, will he be there? Welcome everybody. Welcome Sean, saying hi Tom. What do you think main events tonight? It really depends on the storyline that they're going for. Leaked information suggests I will be wrong on this. But I feel a tag match should main event. They should be spending the entire show building towards a will they one day for Jey Uso. Stuart Ridley is also here saying hi Tom. Hello Stuart, how are you? We are of course opening with the usual recap, seeing plenty of Sami Zayn at the Royal Rumble and more on Jey Uso walking away. Carmelina is here saying hi as well. Welcome Carmelina. Kieran says feels weird having another pay-per-view only next week, considering we went like 6 weeks without one. And to be fair, after Elimination Chamber will go quite a few weeks before WrestleMania too. Wolfie Wolf says hi Tom. Hello Wolfie Wolf 99. Traffic says subs up. Good evening. All here's to a good show. Hopefully so. Yes, SmackDown was very good last week, but it does have to keep up with the Roman Reigns storyline. That's the difficult part that they're having. Brad Becker is also here saying yo Brad, how you doing guys? How is everybody doing? Please, when you come in, remember to hit the like button. Every thumbs up makes a massive difference and really helps the growth of the channel, so please do remember to hit that thumbs up. We did reach 2,130 subscribers earlier, onwards and upwards towards 2,150, but still, I'll pat myself and all of you guys on the back if I can, because that's an achievement for all of us. Kieran said the Chamber pay-per-view is looking like a banger pay-per-view, though. Absolutely. It's not huge matches apart from the main event, which is a very good thing. A lot of champions aren't in action. A lot of people don't seem like they're going to be that involved, which means a lot of the big names can get a bit of a rest, but also a lot of people get opportunities that they wouldn't normally. I'm looking at Sami Zayn here. Let's be fair. This isn't an opportunity he would normally be afforded. Sean says we'll probably go a few months after WrestleMania without a PLE. Quite possibly. I wouldn't say a few months necessarily, but at least one. Christoph says, what a busy way to end a busy Friday, laying in my bed having a SmackDown watch party with Tom Colohue. See, that always makes me laugh. I know quite a few people will be watching SmackDown in their bed and they'll be watching me on their phone. Doesn't change the fact that it's a bit weird that I'm in bed with you. Bit weird. And Carmelina is nervous for this episode. Not sure why, but I also kind of get it. Traffic says, yep, Chamber looks good. Speaking of Chamber, I wonder if they open with Men's Chamber like they did Rumble. Certainly I don't think that's a bad shout. They need, ideally, another women's match on the card, but they have Rhea Ripley and Beth Phoenix in mixed tag, so that works. Kieran says, I watched it in the bath once after a rough day at work. Wow, Kieran. I was in the bath with you. That's where we are now, is it? That's where we are now. Sean says, one of the Chamber matches should main event the PLE, not Roman versus Sami. Roman Reigns versus Sami Zayn will definitely be the main event at Elimination Chamber. Can confirm. Well, 5 minutes in, it looks like we're finally wrapping up that opening promo. The opening hype package. Like, I get it. The Bloodline are important. But let's get to the actual arena first, yep? Yeah, Christopher. You didn't think of it from that angle, but now you'll never not. You'll always think of it from that angle now. We also have the Banger Bros, who we can't call the Banger Bros, taking on Hit Row tonight. I'd imagine further Viking Raiders inclusion there, but this would be an ideal time for Imperium and or Gunter to get involved. We also get an opportunity to see if Karrion Kross is the second listed heel behind Roman Reigns. I'd be confused if that were the case, but that is what PW Insider reported. Seems an age ago now, but it did happen. Michael Cole immediately digging into the fact that a week tomorrow, the biggest match of Sami Zayn's life. It is for both World Championships. It's hard to debate that point. Sean says, will we get Becky, Lita and possibly Trish versus Damage Control at Chamber or WrestleMania? At WrestleMania, I'm still confident it's going to be Becky versus Bayley and only Becky versus Bayley. If we have Lita and Trish, I'd imagine it'll be Elimination Chamber. They are opening by hyping up the Chamber match, well, not the Chamber match, match of the Chamber pay-per-view between Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn. And Paul Heyman is in the ring with both championships and no Roman. Why would he have both championships without Roman? Paul Heyman effectively acting as Roman Reigns at the moment, which is not something I ever thought I'd be saying. I like that he's dressed in SmackDown colours though. Cheers, Sean. I didn't realise I was sounding so bad. Hopefully it sorts itself out. A name drop for Brock Lesnar from Paul Heyman there. Interesting. Justin Check is hoping for something for the shiniest wizard. Christoph says carrying cross second heel on SmackDown seems hard to believe. For me, it should be Gunter. I agree. It is Gunter. It very obviously is Gunter. And Kieran says Damage Control will beat down Lita and Becky and Trish will come out to save them because Canada. Because Canada. That's fair, Kieran. It just depends, of course, whether or not Dakota Kai is fit and firing by then. I can't be certain. It's rare that we open with a promo. When it's Paul Heyman, it's worth it. Still rare. Still rare. Not often you hear the word psychopathic used in this this element. The crowd have got behind it. Paul Heyman naturally has paused to let them. I see a Sami sign, which is nice. Paul Heyman saying that Sami Zayn isn't there, which seems unlikely. Sami has a match to build. Why wouldn't he be there? Sean says, what is Dakota's injury? I'm not sure of the nature of it. I believe it's an ankle injury, but it's a minor one. It's just whether or not she's fit and firing, as I say. Paul Heyman is now baiting the crowd to cheer. I see a couple of Sami Zayn shirts in the crowd. Oh, we're going to get mention of Cody. We'll see what the response we get from the crowd. Couple of boos, but a decent pop for Cody. There's a Cody Rhodes sign in the crowd as well. Wolf says, do you think Paul Heyman would turn on Roman like he did to CM Punk and Brock Lesnar in the future? Yeah. It's Paul Heyman. He turns on everybody. Yes, Kieran, that is where she got it. The Royal Rumble. Tripping on the wire. We continue to build towards a Cody Rhodes match. And the fans are behind it, which makes it all the more difficult for them to root for Sami. The WWE aren't saying move on just yet, but after Elimination Chamber they will be doing. They will be saying, okay, we know you like Sami Zayn, but we're all going to move on now. Kieran says, who do you think should be paired with Heyman next? Gunter? I'd put Heyman with Imperium. I think that would be a lot of fun. I think they could really cause some carnage. Sean says, most fans speculate Alexa's break will end after Chamber. Fan speculation, not really something that's likely to actually come to fruition. I don't see Alexa featuring in a match at WrestleMania. That's all I've said. I'll stand by it. Note how they're now pairing up Sami Zayn and Cody Rhodes. Really, in many ways, lining them up against each other. Peter N says, why are you confident of Cody beating Roman? Dave said WWE wanted to make Roman versus The Rock or even Steve Austin, which gives you an idea that they want him to retain the titles. Dave Meltzer did say that. Dave Meltzer also said that they didn't want that. And look, it's Sami Zayn. Dave Meltzer said both things. What I said in June was that Cody Rhodes would win the Royal Rumble and win the championships. He's won the Royal Rumble, he'll be winning the championships. Also in August, I said that Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens would be facing off against the Usos, which is where we are headed. There's plenty behind where I'm getting the information from, and it very much tells you where we're going. I'm very confident that Cody Rhodes will be leaving WrestleMania as a winner. Christoph says, some of my friends want to see Heyman with Ronda. I think it's a bad idea. What do you think? I think it's a bad idea. Contrary to popular belief, Ronda is pretty good on the microphone. Paul Heyman, if anything, would just distract from that. And hey, she's a heel. Paul Heyman isn't brilliant at keeping people heel. Thank you for the spoiler, Simon. Sean says, what about Ronda with Heyman? She said in the past she wants to work with him. She does want to work with him, but she doesn't want him as a manager. She wants to speak for herself. Sami Zayn passive-aggressively threatening Paul Heyman. Okay, yeah, I'm apparently not too well. One thing to look forward to, Elimination Chamber, by the way. The moment when Roman Reigns goes into the corner, says, ooh ah, and as his head comes down, gets hit with a hell of a kick. He will kick out, but hell of a kick. Sami Zayn is isolating Paul Heyman and making that clear. No messing around. Paul Heyman is exposed here. Kieran says Ronda likes to rush her promos for some reason, which makes them seem bad. That's because of her speech impediment, Kieran. Ronda Rousey has an active speech impediment. Peter says, forget about Dave. They wanted to do Roman versus The Rock and also Steve Austin, which has been confirmed by Fightful. I don't think you disagree with that either. As regards The Rock, there has never been a plan for him to wrestle at WrestleMania. Never. That has never been a thing. As regards Steve Austin, there was a pitch. That's true. That would have meant Roman Reigns doing double duty and retaining one championship. That match was turned down. Cody Rhodes would still have faced off against Roman Reigns and won. That was the plan. Brad Becker says Gunther doesn't really need a manager either, though. Nobody really needs a manager. Roman didn't need a manager. Roman didn't. Simon, I'm talking about Dakota Kai and her ankle. Dakota Kai. Sami Zayn does have a point. No Solo Sikoa, no Jimmy Uso. Nobody rushing to Paul Heyman's defense. Sami Zayn is effectively breaking the bloodline right now. Just breaking it in half. It's a solid promo from Sami. Paul Heyman naturally will be going back and forth between Raw and SmackDown. So he's going to be exposed quite a bit. Peter says, I think the plan was Cody versus Seth for the vacant title if he wasn't facing Roman. It wasn't. The plan was Cody versus Roman. That's been the plan since June. Sorry you missed that part, Simon. Christoph says, how great Sami has become. Wow. Sami's always been this good. It's just that they finally decided to push him. They finally gave him a chance to show what he could actually do. They finally stopped having him lose match after match after match. He went over a year without winning a match. Over a year. And then when he finally started winning, he had to lose to Johnny Knoxville. And now here he is. With a whole crowd chanting and cheering. Carmelina says Sami is the best. And on SmackDown right now, absolutely he is. Traffic says, I wonder when we see KO again. Just as soon as it can be about them both. Right now they're intentionally isolating Sami to keep building him. Sami name dropping Cody as well. We're making sure both men are constantly in the conversation. Making sure that you as a fan know that no one's been ignored here, because neither of them are. Simon says, who are the big names missing Mania 39 and why reported earlier a spoiler warning? What spoiler warning, Simon? It's all there. I talked about AJ Styles, I talked about Karrion Kross, I talked about Alexa Bliss, I talked about plenty more. Sean says, Carmella heel or face? Confused on what she is. At the moment, she is neither. They're going to have her wrestle, see what the fans think, and go with that. They're advertising the Usos versus Braun Strowman and Ricochet live tonight. Jey Uso, of course, will they, won't they? Will he be there? That's the big question going into this one that the WWE have been pushing for the entire evening. The Banger Bros are backstage getting hyped up by Fight Night, which is always nice to see. Fight Night have been sort of ignored recently, particularly by Sheamus, and I don't think they've entirely deserved it. So it's nice to see Drew McIntyre getting involved with the act as well and really helping to put them over. Hey Jaden, how you doing, mate? Wolf said Sami Zayn currently reminds me of Sami in NXT. Well, to be fair, Wolf, they are the same person. Shock, I know. Christoph says Sami was always a great wrestler. I agree, but as far as my skills and acting character, he amazes me. He's always been a fantastic talker. He's always got people laughing. Not to the level of Usi, but now we have Usi. It's sort of undeniable. He's undeniably Usi. Undeniably so. As we go into our first commercial break, do remember, please, when you enter the room, please hit that thumbs up. We've got 17 viewers, but only the 9 likes. One more gets us up to double figures. I'd appreciate it. Also, if you haven't yet, consider hitting subscribe. You actually cannot chat until subscribing, so please check it out. And you'll get notifications every time we go live for spoiler warning on Mondays and Fridays, and of course for our I'm not feeling particularly well at the moment, and of course for our SmackDown watch parties and pay-per-view watch parties. Elimination Chamber next up after all. Sean says, any truth to what's being said that WWE gave up on Corbin? WWE have not given up on Baron Corbin in any way, shape or form. They agree with fans that this current push is not working. They need to work out something new. Her business seemed to be calling. The WWE have not given up on Baron Corbin. Triple H is a big fan and he will make sure the man is pushed. Traffic says, I was thinking that feels like Fight Night has taken a beating since Drew and Sheamus formed a little alliance. Oh, it's taken a back seat, I do apologise. Since Drew and Sheamus formed an alliance. They have. So once again, it's very nice to see Drew McIntyre embracing them, getting involved with them and really making sure that they don't get ignored. After all, let's be fair, they were in the War Games match, which is a pretty good spot to be in. Sai, welcome mate. Says, hi Tom and all. Hope you're all good. Just off a late train from your part of the world, so I'll stay up for SmackDown. Cool. Absolutely brilliant. Have a good night, mate. Hope you enjoy it. Brad says, join the conversation, hit that like button, and keep it going. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's the thing. The more likes we get from the people who are here, the more people we get. The more people we get, the more likes we get from the people who are here. And it snowballs and snowballs and snowballs. It's all a wonderful, wonderful thing. Before you know it, we're absolutely thriving in here. I looked back through some of my old watch parties, and there were times when I was live for 2 hours, 3 hours, and I got 50 views total. It hurts a little bit thinking back to that, but also shows how far you've come, you know? Nowadays, it's very, very unusual for us to get 50 views. I don't think we've had 50 views on one show for about a year and a half now. So it's always nice to just have that refresher of where you've come from. Christoph says, Sami and KO, modern version of the Quebecers, but as faces and even better. I can't wait. Montreal going to be buzzing, I tell you that. Kevin Owens is going to speak French. I'm very confident of that. 20 minutes in, we're on to our first match, which will be Hit Row versus the Banger Bros. Since turning heel, Hit Row have basically landed in the position of jobber. I'm not happy about it, but also, someone's got to do it. You're not going to beat Drew McIntyre and Sheamus, let's be fair. Sheamus has a new Celtic dragon, which is interesting, considering the dragon is Welsh. And he's Irish. Thomas Phipps says, what have I missed so far then, Tom? You've missed Sami Zayn, you've missed Paul Heyman in what I suspect will be their only appearance tonight. The main event I still suspect will be Jey and Jimmy Uso versus Braun Strowman and Ricochet. The question that will be asked across all of SmackDown tonight is, where is Jimmy Uso? Hence the title of this here video, because where is Jimmy Uso? Will he be there? Simon says, just watched it, Tom. So Alexa, Cross, Scarlett, AJ Styles are not on the Mania 39 card then. At this point in time, no, they are not. There's also technically Bray Wyatt's not on the card yet, but I can't imagine they're going to leave him off. Everyone else that I've listed there, that seems likely, but Bray Wyatt, no. Sean says, I think breaking up Gigi and JC was a good thing. It's better than them coming up and losing to Damage Control. You always assume that the second someone comes up, they're just going to lose. They did alright when they came up briefly, however long ago it was. €2. That's just me. This very much feels like an exhibition match. Give the match a bit of a pop. The fact that Hit Row demanded the match and were then surprised to get the match tells you a lot about the plans for their characters going forward. They're missing Swerve. Ashanti the Adonis starting against Drew McIntyre. Note that Drew McIntyre could not care less about what's happening right now. This match is not going to be long. Usually the first match on SmackDown lasts 20 minutes to half an hour. Not so much when Drew McIntyre's in it. Ashanti nearly landed on his feet from that belly to belly. I'd have kind of preferred it if he did. Top Dollar sneaking to the outside there, waiting for the countdown to start. The countdown's very handy for your opponents to know when the move's coming. And it looks like we're going round before we go over. Kieran says the JC Jane boot was harsh on NXT. It was. It must have really hurt. Like, there's no other way to really describe it. It just looks like it really hurt. Nice drop kick from Ashanti. Very, very poor worked punches though. Brad suggests it's going to be a squash match. That does not seem likely at this point in time. Simon says, do you see Lita and Trish potentially being added to women's tag title triple threat match at Mania 39 featuring Liv, Ronda, Damage Control? No, I don't. Sean says, did anyone see Mandy Rose on Oral Sessions? She said a return to wrestling is now the question, but it's not her main focus right now. She did indeed say that, and to be honest, I kind of get it. It makes perfect sense to me. She's making a lot of money doing what she's enjoying doing. I'm sure she does want to return to wrestling at some point, but it would have to be with a company that accepts her for who she is. The WWE are not that right now. Heck low to you too, Omega. Welcome to the show, mate. Sheamus just beating down on Top Dollar. For nobody could keep counting then, just for a firm beating. Now Sheamus is kind of supposed to be building towards a hot tag here. It hasn't quite happened because he's regained his strength. He's covered in bruises again. What is he doing? How is he always covered in bruises? Yes, Sheamus. Fella. He's always covered in something. Simon says, did you hear the news about the Ding Dong Hello door angle botch with JCGG? The door was meant to break. Yes, I did. Once again, it looks like it hurt. And that Claymore essentially guarantees that this match is over. Sheamus hit the bro kick. I thought for a moment Ashanti the Adonis was intentionally rolling towards the ropes, but Sheamus pulled him back, and the match kind of was a squash. Certainly, Hit Row have not hit the heights since returning. They returned with much fanfare and have gone absolutely nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. Wolf says, has Brian Cage extended his contract with AEW? Not to my knowledge, no. It doesn't sound like too many people are actually that interested in Brian Cage. That may mean he signs a new deal for a lot less money. In the end, it may be the right call for him. Sheamus and McIntyre pose for the crowd. And it looks like a Viking Raiders promo. I wouldn't hate the idea of this tag match at Elimination Chamber. The whole Valhalla concept is a bit terrible. And getting worse. Sean says, Cora finally put a picture of her back on her Twitter. That's a good sign. I hope she's doing well. I think if you're hoping for someone to do well, you should be hoping that they get off Twitter. Because it's a hellscape. Right, so there's a whole ritual happening. Somebody put out earlier on Twitter that the WWE were disappointed with Viking Raiders. They're not. It's not true. They're pretty happy with Viking Raiders on this particular push that they're getting. It is certainly strengthening the tag division. If you look at the possible teams, even just now on SmackDown at a high level, you've got the Usos, obviously. You've got New Day who can tag in at any point. You've got Sheamus and McIntyre. You've got Strowman and Ricochet. You've got Viking Raiders who are being built up as well. There's 5 teams immediately. 5 teams immediately that could be involved. Jimmy Uso is backstage alone. He's trying to get hold of Jey, but where is Jey? Sean says, I saw that list too. Emma and Karrion were on that list. Karrion Kross, I kind of get it, but it's not really his fault. He's been booked so terribly. Emma as well has been very rarely featured. What more do you expect? Like, what do you think could actually happen here? It's complete garbage. It is complete garbage. And I just want to be very clear on that. I saw the list. It was not true. Simply not true. Triple H is rarely disappointed in anybody. Like, you ask that question of anything Triple H related, and that's all you hear back. Why would he be disappointed? That's not Triple H's style. That's just not what Triple H does. So I think the disappointment, as much as anything, is that people keep making up these lists. Fireworks. People keep making up these lists to try and essentially bully wrestlers, when the wrestlers themselves know that it's not true. But imagine, for example, that Karrion Kross sees that list and thinks, oh, Triple H isn't happy with me. Well, what do I do now? It's just very, very poor quality reporting. Firstly, not true. Secondly, potentially damaging to the people it's about. Like, reach out, confirm it. Do something. Just think about the people on the other side of this stuff. Traffic says, how nice the UK must be. Hear a loud bang and know it's only a... Hear a loud bang and know it's only a firework. Definitely just a firework. Loud bangs aren't really a concern here in the UK. Christoph says, to be honest, I don't believe Emma was brought back in the purpose to be a big star anyway, and I think you're absolutely right. Emma, like Hit Row, like seemingly Karrion Kross, was brought back as a means to an end. They were filling out the rosters, filling out the cards, so that when they go on their live tours and their live shows, they can rotate some stars in and out. It's not that big a deal. Liv Morgan gets a couple of weeks off because they've got someone like Emma, they've got someone like Raquel, Xia Li, Tegan Knox. So a couple more people get a couple of weeks off. Where's the downside? Makes no sense to me, this obsession people have with rewriting history. Brad says, think of mental health always. Yep. And that's why when someone like Alexa Bliss, for example, asks for a bit of time off, where's the downside? I've never seen anyone in wrestling get attacked for no reason as much as Alexa Bliss. When the rumour went round that, oh, there's a massive problem with Sasha, the crew went mental at this woman for no reason. None of it has ever been proven. In fact, several times it's been disproven, but they ignore that part. They ignore that. We're a quarter of the way into SmackDown so far. Good opening promo, average opening match. A little disappointed that they couldn't do more with Drew McIntyre, Sheamus and Hit Row, but we are where we are on that one. We have 20 viewers and only the 12 likes. Please remember to hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. Every like does go a long way to the growth of the channel, and subscribe if you haven't as well. Carmelina says people are really rude to Alexa Bliss. Yes, they are, and it's completely unjustified. I do not understand the need that people have to hurt other people. Makes no sense to me. Omega shouts, Tegan Nox! Yes, Tegan Nox. The WWE are hyping up all the different mainstream outlets, including Fox and iHeartRadio, that have discussed SummerSlam going to Ford Field. We have a Karrion Kross backstage promo in black and white. But he's obviously just behind a couple of wires. Okay, so Karrion Kross is focused on Rey Mysterio, who's already beaten him in a one-on-one match. So Rey Mysterio has a win over you, Karrion, so you're not exactly a threat. Sean says, because those people believe Alexa has lost her passion and love for wrestling, which is one of the reasons. It isn't one of the reasons. It's an assumption, and it's wrong. It's an assumption that's wrong. Also, if someone has lost their passion for wrestling, surely the best thing that you can do as a fan is hate on her so she hates wrestling even more, right? It's stupid. Lacey Evans is on her way down to the ring. Literally, during her entrance, we are backstage with Jimmy Uso again. Still trying to get hold of Jey. No luck so far. Where is Jey Uso? Where is he? Lacey Evans now in the ring. She's got tassels on her gear now. Against Carmen Harris, whose gear is the brightest thing I've ever seen in my life. Literally, what is that? She's just so bright and colourful. In the UK, we have a sweet called a fruit salad. And yeah, this girl's dressed like a fruit salad. They said Harris. I'm still feeling Harris. Too many R's, too many S's. Logically local talent once again. Christoph says, can we say Kross is the biggest failure of the Triple H regime so far? Debatable. I think a lot of people would suggest Baron Corbin might be the one. Lacey Evans hasn't exactly had the best rub of the green either. The idea that Triple H has just magically fixed everything and that everyone's getting a real strong push is completely false. There's a lot of people who haven't been able to succeed for one reason or another. Where's Shinsuke Nakamura gone? They still haven't managed to do anything interesting with Omos, to be fair. So it's hard to say one way or the other. Certainly Karrion Kross, for me, really hasn't hit the highlights. Justin Check says, thank God, was worried Tegan would job. Maybe one day. But at the moment, Lacey Evans is being rebuilt. I suspect we have a potential Women's Battle Royal winner for WrestleMania in Lacey Evans. I'm still not sure what her character is actually supposed to be. The idea is that they're recreating her character all the time, but in reality, it's always the same character. They send her away, she does something, she comes back claiming something involving the military. That's always been her character. She's a former Marine. That's always been her sole character. So call her whatever you want, repackage her as many times as you want. She'll still wear the USA gear, she'll still wear the military gear, she'll still be the same person. Lacey Evans has been repackaged 4 times in the last year, and yet she's also never been repackaged. She's always been the exact same person. Traffic says, might be a hot take, but biggest fail so far for me is Bray Wyatt. He just hasn't done anything for me and had so much hype on his return, but there's still hope. The Bray Wyatt situation's a difficult one. He's clearly getting pushed properly. He's clearly being featured regularly. He's clearly got an ongoing storyline actively in play. The problem with that is that while he has a storyline, it's not compelling. Primarily because of just how slow it's going. Brad says, as regards Lacey, female Sergeant Slaughter. She is now, but she's always been the exact same person. Paul Heyman's backstage with Jey Uso. Nothing from Jey for the last week and a half. Well, last 2 weeks, technically. Paul Heyman seems bored. He's playing with his pocket square. Paul Heyman is bored by this. Paul Heyman wondering why Jey Uso's not backing him up. Sean says, I know what you mean by everyone assuming with Alexa, Tom. Jobber Nation got big time heat for saying Alexa is done with WWE. Yeah, they were wrong. They were wrong. Simon says, why do some people on Twitter not like or rate Raquel? I think she's quite good. The main thing you need to focus on is Twitter is not life. Twitter is not life. And people either love or hate. There is no such thing as meh, or maybe. There is only the best thing in the world or you're awful and everyone hates you. That's the only option. So there is a clear miscommunication in the Bloodline right now. Paul Heyman not getting backed up. The Usos versus Braun Strowman and Ricochet is being advertised as up next. Likely then to be our draw segment. And the question is very much, will Jey turn up? We're about to find out. Christoph says, you mean Alexa, to be clear, was right to set the record straight to all her stupid comments. I believe it's really hurt her. Hopefully the support she received after by many people, including me, made her feel better. Traffic says, Jimmy asking Paul if he can help him defend the titles reminds me of Paul's match. Him versus Eddie with the hands tied behind his back. To be fair, way back, Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman defeated the Hardy Boys. Paul Heyman got the pin. Imagine that for a moment. Imagine it now. If a promising tag team who contain like former Intercontinental champions, Drew McIntyre and Sheamus, perfect example. If Drew McIntyre and Sheamus went up against Paul Heyman and the next big thing, Braun Breaker. Paul Heyman and Braun Breaker. And Braun Breaker demolished Drew McIntyre and Sheamus and then let Paul Heyman pin one of them. It certainly would not be a moment that the Twitter fans would be behind. I don't know why I'm under the weather at the minute. I seem to not be able to get away from it. I think I'm just having chest issues. I need to work out and get my chest stronger, but I can't because I'm sick. All the time. It's infuriating. Sean says Paul Heyman also wrestled against CM Punk once. CM Punk wrestled a lot of non-wrestlers. Wrestled Jerry Lawler like way late. Traffic said I'd steer clear of wrestling Twitter for a week after that one, and so you should. There are times when it's just very difficult to be a wrestling fan. Usually the issue isn't so much the wrestling. The issue is your fans. The worst part of wrestling is the fandom. I'd put that out on Twitter a while back, what is the worst part of wrestling for you, and then later on I did what is the best part. And literally, the fans was the answer from 80% of the people. Something about the fans just really winds a lot of other fans up, which is funny because fans winding up fans. I don't know. But the extremism of it all. Everyone is either the best wrestler in the world or absolute trash. I never understood it. I've never understood the radical nature. Christoph says he was watching WrestleMania 4 the other day. Believe it or not, Bobby Heenan got a pinfall victory over Coco Beware. I do believe it. Because that was just a time when the rules did not matter. Nobody was doing anything that made any sense. It was a baffling time to be a wrestling fan. A baffling time. Up next, we have Jimmy and Jey Uso versus Braun Strowman and Ricochet. We have not yet seen Charlotte Flair, Ronda Rousey, or anyone for our fatal four-way outside of Karrion Kross. Plenty of time for it, of course, and we'll be waiting with bated breath to see what happens. Traffic says, I remember when AEW was pure excitement after about a big new promotion starting. Then it turned into you're not allowed to like both. I'm like, what? I'm just glad more wrestling is here. Yep, the debut of AEW really exposed a lot of wrestling fans for what they were actually like. There are plenty of people who enjoy AEW, maybe don't like WWE so much. In which case, cool, have a great time watching AEW. There are plenty of people who like WWE and maybe don't like AEW so much. In which point, great, have a good time watching WWE. It should be that simple. It really should be that simple. But it's not. As Brad says, tribalism is the biggest problem in wrestling. Nevin, welcome. Welcome to the show. We're getting a recap of our fatal four-way from last week to determine who qualified for the Elimination Chamber, won by Natalya. Joey says, geez, WWE still trying to get Lacey Evans over. When are they going to give up? I don't think they are. I just don't see give up coming. I really don't. It's nice to see a repeat of some of the highlights from last week. Zelina Vega certainly, I feel, had a good showing. Shayna Baszler also had a bit of a good showing. Natalya, as much as anything, sort of escaped Shayna Baszler. So I said, the uncomfortable truth on women's wrestling fans, especially on Twitter, is that a vocal minority are not watching for the right reason. They're following a weird crush rather than the wrestling. Certainly I feel that is an area that isn't talked about enough. I look at the Crew, for example, who many of them, have fully decided that Sasha Banks is the best wrestler in the world based on the fact that Sasha Banks is a great wrestler. Many of them like her outside works. Many of them like her personality and character. Some of them just think she's really hot and hate everyone else. There are always people like that. Chelsea Green saying she had facial amnesia. Sonya Deville very much does not want to be associated with Chelsea Green. So naturally Adam Pearce will automatically ensure preferential treatment. Joey says, was this a Vince suggestion to put Lacey Evans on TV in squash matches? No. That's Triple H's plan. We have a women's tag match later on the show. 2 women's matches on one show. Aren't we lucky? Braun Strowman and Ricochet on the way down. Ricochet kind of getting the job as entrance. The crowd are not that hyped. Unusual. Usually Braun Strowman gets a big pop. Not so much today. Mr. Stumble says, ex-con Dom deserves to beat the tribal chief one day. Likely he will. Likely he will. A lot of people are really behind Dominic Mysterio, really hyped by what he's been able to deliver so far. I was hearing lots of good things like a year before he debuted. I first put out a report a year before he did debut that he would be skipping NXT, and thus he has. He's one of the new young people that I could certainly see winning a Royal Rumble in the years to come. I just think he's got the character and personality to really take on a big name face. I'd like to see Dominic versus Cody, I really would. The Usos' music is hit, I'd imagine. It's just Jimmy here. Solo Sikoa, according to Jimmy, is not there to help and support. I'm confident Jey's going to be there. Joey says, can't blame the crowd. Not a good way to start this show with Hit Row and Lacey Evans. You say that, but we did have Drew McIntyre and Sheamus. Surely Drew McIntyre and Sheamus is enough to hype a crowd. Traffic says, if I said Bray is my biggest failure, Dom has got to be one of the biggest successes so far. I think with Bray, he's a victim of the hype a little bit. People are so sure that he's going to be one of the biggest things in wrestling that he can't escape the excitement. He can't get a fair slice of the pie. He can't get a decent chance because he's always having a fight over the hype that people put on his name. With Dominic Mysterio, I kept hearing great things, but people in general, fans, weren't that excited. I wasn't that excited about the heel turn. But being paired up with Rhea Ripley, best thing he's ever done. Probably the best work Triple H has done so far. At the moment, it's looking like Braun and Ricochet versus just Jimmy. It is not impossible that they lose the SmackDown Tag Team Championships here. It is, after all, only one set of championships. And we could still see the Raw Tag Team Championships defended at WrestleMania. Jey Uso is here. Told you. Jey Uso will let Roman down. He will not let Jimmy down. That's the difference. Jey will always be there for his brother. For Roman, that's the question. Christoph says Chelsea's gimmick is kind of funny. Also cool, she reacted to my tweet telling her Belgian chocolate was the best in the world and liked the tweet. I do find it interesting when you see Twitter accounts which are like, this person liked my tweet, this person liked my tweet. And I get that, but here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. It should just be normal. They're people too. If I listed all the different likes and retweets I've had from wrestlers, it would be extensive, but I've interviewed several of them. They know me. The Usos are reunited, and I feel confident in saying that they will be retaining these championships. Are we getting another commercial break? We've got another commercial break. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Mr. Stumble says ex-con Dom needs to rip Ray's mask off and become the mega heel we deserve at Mania. That's exactly where I see him going. I do feel if he retires Rey Mysterio, he's certainly not going to be particularly popular here in the WWE. Traffic says, yeah, I see where you're coming from. So another commercial break before we get to the actual match. The match is going to be over the draw segment. There'll be no Roman, but there may be a Paul Heyman involved. And I wouldn't be too surprised to see some element of Sami Zayn here. Just to see how Jey's actually feeling. We still have a women's tag team match. Ronda Rousey apparently in the house. And of course our fatal 4-way to finish. So 3 more matches to come in an hour and 10 minutes. And hopefully I'm not going to cough all of my guts up. Fingers crossed. I do apologise, guys. I do apologise. I'm trying not to, but my body's not exactly doing as it's told at the moment. Mr. Stumble wants Dominic to demask Bray Wyatt. Well, to be fair, Bray Wyatt doesn't always wear a mask. And Thomas Phipps says, ex-con Dom needs to enter in the lowrider, leave a Ray's mask on whilst Ray is crying in the ring at the end of his career. That does sound incredible. And I don't think Rey Mysterio would be offended by the prospect. I really don't. We have 32 viewers and only the 14 likes. If you are just entering, please remember to hit that thumbs up. It does guarantee more viewers, which means more growth for the channel. And it means I get closer and closer to being able to do this full time. Every view, every like makes a massive difference. And if you haven't done so yet, click subscribe. Does anyone really think that Braun Strowman and Ricochet have a serious chance here? I've got to ask the question because I'm very interested to see what responses I get. For me, Ricochet is there to be the fall guy for Braun Strowman. I don't even think this tag team survives after this match. But at the same time, I'm not sure where Braun Strowman goes into WrestleMania, and I'm confident Ricochet, wherever he goes, will not be going into WrestleMania. So this seems very, very unlikely. If it was a one-man defense, then Jimmy Uso losing makes sense. I still remember Hardcore Holly pinning The Rock many, many years ago, when The Rock and Sock Connection were the tag team champions. Bear me just 1 second. Eventually, I think my sneezes are going to kill me. Brad Becker says, hell no. Sean says, it's a swerve, bro. And Justin Check says, hope no, which is like hell no, but more hopeful. We are, while I'd imagine there's an actual match going on, getting Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley hype. We're talking Monday Night Raw. There'll be a Seth Rollins, there'll be a contract signing. Thomas says Dominic will be the biggest heel since CM Punk in AEW. You can really make something of that. You can build a career on retiring Rey Mysterio, even if you weren't his son. Which, to be fair, as we know, Dominic isn't. Dominic is Eddie Guerrero's son. We all know this. We all know this. Ricochet is starting against Jey. I'd imagine this match is going to go for at least 20 minutes. A couple more commercial breaks. It's already been the main focus of one of them. It's not often you see Ricochet in there with the Usos. It's a good chance for him to really show what he can do here. He's with two very athletic opponents who can provide the platform that he's looking for. Meanwhile, Braun Strowman, of course, will just come in, throw some punches, and that'll be that. He's, after all, a monster. Sean says, why do I see Miz TV with Seth leading to a match between both of them? History? To be fair, Miz and Seth have really good in-ring chemistry, so I wouldn't be angry about that. I know there's this idea that Miz isn't a good wrestler. He is a good wrestler. He needs an opponent who fits his style, but he is a good wrestler. I'm never disappointed by a Miz match. Christoph says, Braun and Ricochet winning wouldn't be bad booking for me, since Usos are now defending the belt separately at some point. They'll have to drop one at least. They may, or they'll lose both of them at WrestleMania. I certainly think the fact that they're teasing the separate defenses does mean that we're more likely to see one go, but I do think when they go, it'll be both of them, not just the one. And I think it'll be Kevin Owens and Sami. Thomas says, imagine if they change Dom's name to Dominic Guerrero. I don't necessarily see it. I think they're going to get rid of the Mysterio, though, and just call him Dominic. When he's eventually world champion, he'll just be Dom. That'll be it. Cheer for Dom. Mr. Summer says, will Conan return to put over nephew ex-con Dom? No. The WWE did not want to work with Conan. Sean says, do you see Bronson being involved in Mania? Nope. And Sean says, when do you believe Ciampa will return? When he's ready to, and when they have a new storyline for him. They're having a rethink about what position they put him in. Just being The Miz's backup isn't really working. Especially when The Miz now has a new backup. Jimmy and Jey aren't really on the same page yet. Also, I find it telling that Jey is still wearing a Bloodline t-shirt. So far, still Ricochet in the ring. Not necessarily building up to a hot tag, though. The Usos look more nervous than Ricochet and Strowman do. I'd say they're the ones who are more in danger. So, you know, they're the ones. Mr. Stumble says, Miz is a Honda Civic of wrestling, not flashy but consistent. True, that's fair. Traffic says, never understood the Miz hate. Guy went from real world acting like a wrestler to becoming WWE champ, beating Cena at WrestleMania. Didn't get there being bad. If you're a heel, you are successful if people hate you. The Miz is one of the most hated wrestlers in history. So, clearly, he's very good at his job. Very good. Thomas says, imagine for that Mania match as the ring announcer is about to introduce him, He stops her and says, "My name is Dominic Guerrero." I can see that, yeah. Just to wind up Ray, though. Brad says, "Do you see Dom wearing a mask if he retires his father?" No. I think that bird's flown. There's too much acting in his face now to hide it. Rey Mysterio is historically a masked figure, but Dominic is not, and for me, it doesn't make sense to do that. I wouldn't hide his face. He tells too many stories. So he says, "Nice of Fox to allow some wrestling on their ads channel. It seems excessive lately. We've had 3 commercial breaks in the last 10 minutes. We're on to our 3rd. What is happening?" Thomas says, "Do you see him wearing the mask for his entrance?" What mask is that, Thomas? He'd have to get the mask away from Ray first, and he hasn't done that. He took one at Royal Rumble. He was supposed to rip it up. It fought back. He wasn't successful at ripping it up, so he just threw it to the side. It's kind of awkward looking back at it. I wish they'd retaped it and just sort of used some other angles. Sean says, "Do you believe Ciampa will come back before Mania?" No. He'll probably be shoved into the Battle Royal, so he'll come back at Mania and then be forgotten about again. Doesn't make sense to me. As I say, they're still trying to work out a new storyline for Tommaso Ciampa, a new character for him. There's a lot of rebranding going on right now. A lot of rebranding. Triple H, ideally, he's trying to put the card together and the plan together for next year's WrestleMania based on what he has now. A lot of wrestlers need a full rebrand. Baron Corbin, Lacey Evans again, Tommaso Ciampa, Alexa Bliss is looking in that field at the moment. And that makes it very difficult to book ahead. So he's trying to create the characters now before we get to WrestleMania, and he has to start thinking about this time next year. No, Thomas, I don't see him wearing the Ray mask after he retires Ray. I see him being a one-time thing, like coming out the night after and saying, I beat him, and then taking it off. Once again, I just don't see them hiding his face. No, Thomas, they are not bringing back the Black Heart Tommaso Ciampa because he's on the main roster now. He'll be losing a lot more matches. So, here's the problem. You know how in NXT TakeOver he walked out to no music and people were chanting their hatred? Unfortunately, now people respect Tommaso Ciampa, which means that doesn't work anymore. He has a problem where he was so bad he became good, and that just ruins everything. You have to be like The Miz. Be so bad that you're bad. Sean says, "How long until you believe the Street Profits will split and who turns on who?" Hard to say. I think it'll be after WrestleMania at this point. And I'm not sure, but I think, personally, that Montez Ford will turn on Angelo Dawkins. It just opens up more match opportunities for me, personally, from where I'm sitting. Sean says, "I just think there were others that deserved a push over Miz, like Barrett, Cesaro, Ambrose, Apollo, etc. Not a single one of those was in anywhere near as hated as the Miz was." Essentially, the louder the reaction to a wrestler, the more their opportunities will be. So the fact that people are out there booing The Miz meant that The Miz got the opportunities over the other people, and so he should have done. Sean says, "Will we see Blair Davenport after Stand and Deliver?" I don't know. No idea. It's hard to say. Traffic says, "I feel if a wrestler's not in a storyline or plan for one right now, everyone else is just sort of on pause till after WrestleMania or the draft." They are. Right now, you're either in the spotlight or you're not. And if you're not, well, WrestleMania's coming. Why would they waste time on you when they could be trying to push someone else? Sounds harsh. In many ways it is. But also it's the only way to be. They've got to get stuff done here. Christoph is going crazy. Thinks Braun and Ricochet might well do it. Dominic, "I will indeed be having a WrestleMania watch party. WrestleMania weekend is going to be a difficult one for me. So I'm going to be doing the SmackDown watch party on the Friday, WrestleMania Night 1 on the Saturday, WrestleMania Night 2 on the Sunday, Raw on the Monday. 4 days. 4 days of watch parties in a row. But hopefully a very successful period for me. And I don't remember Bastion Booger. That was way before my time. Traffic says, "Do you see Montez being a top single star?" Eventually, yes. In the mould of a Seth Rollins. My concern is that if he gets a heel turn and just is the usual fancy man, bit of a coward, I don't see it working. I want to see a man with a chip on his shoulder. Braun Strowman has got the hat tag. Yes, someone tagged his hat. The hot tag, he's tagged in, he's punching people, he's throwing his way around. He's still trying to put over that whole clubbing blow thing, which just isn't working. Logically, he'll be in for a while, throw some people around, and then immediately tag back out again. Braun Strowman's never in the ring for very long. Jimmy and Jey have done a lot of selling in this match so far. Haven't really looked particularly strong. But here they are essentially just trying to keep Strowman out of the ring. Not a bad plan. He's a big guy. Jey's still trying. Jey is definitely feeling like the main eventer here. Braun Strowman literally watching the referee. Good leg kick out. You gotta watch your eyes though. Sean says, are you doing Hall of Fame watch along? Is there going to be a separate Hall of Fame this year? They've announced nobody. I can't say with confidence that there's actually going to be a reason to. I genuinely can't see a Hall of Fame happening. I read that, Brad, before you delete it. I read it. That's another super kick from Jey, and Braun immediately tags out. As I said, Braun Strowman never stays in the ring for long. Not sure why it is. Ricochet with a lion salt. Standing moonsault. Jey does not look at the referee. It's good work. It's good work. Ricochet's back in the ring, back being the legal man, which creates its own problem. Ricochet, as we know, is a vulnerable one here. Braun Strowman is not getting pinned. The fans are chanting for the Usos, primarily for Jey Uso. If they're going to face off with Sami and Kevin Owens, the Usos might have to remind people that they're the bad guys. Mr. Stumble says, do you think Jey Uso will ever be a breakout single star? He already has been. Main event Uso is serious. Oh, Braun's back in. Hits his running power slam. For some reason just rolls Jimmy away. Had an opportunity there. Gonna tag Ricochet back in once again. Braun Strowman never in the ring for long. They've been using this as a finish. Oh, we're very close to the ropes. Foot's out. Jey Uso tugs off Ricochet. Braun Strowman with a reaction face. Not often you see that. We are getting going with this one. The fans are into it. The match has only actually been going for about 10 minutes. And this is awesome chant from the crowd, particularly people standing up wearing We The Ones shirts. Strowman is looking to get some revenge on Jey. Jey has had Strowman's number this entire match. Particularly Jey. Not Jey and Jimmy, just Jey. This is how wrestlers stand out from each other. Particularly if you're twins. You've got to find a way. Takes a hit from Ricochet. They've clearly paired them up. Ricochet is going into the ring against Jimmy. This is where it's not going to work out. Jimmy's looking for a superplex. Not a move you see too often from Jimmy. Jey with a blind tag. Mr. Stumble says, more likely to be WWE champ, Jey or Solo? Jey right now, Solo in future. Lovely play by Jey. Knew where Ricochet was going, knew how to handle it. Braun Strowman has already been taken out of the equation. The Usos retain the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Great showing by Jey, particularly. He found ways to stand out individually in that match. He had Strowman's number the entire time, the entire match. He knew exactly where Braun Strowman was going to be. Ricochet, of course, the fall guy. That's what he's there for. It came down to a bit of flippy stuff, which you know Braun Strowman's not a fan of. He's not a fan of it. I'm sure he'll feel justified. A couple of good false finishes there. I do feel that Ricochet's positioning gave him away a little bit. But in the end, just clever by Jey Uso. Predicting Ricochet's motions. Hits the shooting star. You see Jimmy actually help push him off. And in the end, it's actually quite a good cover. You can see Braun Strowman in the background still selling, which is not something Braun Strowman used to be known for. But certainly it's what he's known for now. Christoph says, what a match. Michael Cole is suggesting the bloodline is still intact. I still believe that maybe Jimmy is the one to walk away. Dominic says, do you see them bringing back the Winged Championship belt? Nope. Doesn't work anymore. Does not fit the aesthetic they're going for. Rey Mysterio is backstage talking Fatal 4-Way. Honestly, I do think he might win this one so that Dominic can screw him up at the Elimination Chamber. So the bloodline is unsure. It's very hard to sit here and say that they're intact. It's very hard to sit here and say that they're completely fractured. There is plenty of bloodline to go around, but Roman certainly is losing control. Roman and Solo could still go off and do their own thing, but Solo Sikoa could just go off and do his own thing. Solo. The Usos, though, seem stronger than ever and will continue to work together. That said, if it's going to be Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus the Usos, they need to work out who the bad guy is, and soon, because if it's going to be the Usos, on the strength of the crowd reaction there, they're going to have to do something heinous. Mr. Stumble says, Nia Jax is a bloodline member we deserve. What did we do? We currently have 43 viewers and only the 18 likes. Please remember, if you're jumping in and you'd like to say hi, by all means jump in the chat, say hi. Hit that thumbs up for a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you prefer to lurk, you're also welcome to do that. There is no pressure in this here chat. You can do whatever the hell you want. Whatever the hell you feel comfortable with, you are welcome here to do so. Christoph says, like them or not, Jimmy and Jey are by far the best team in the world today. The level of emotion that you can get from these two does put them a cut above most other tag teams. There are still some very good actors in the tag team division. I still rate the New Day, even though they seem to just be less important lately than they've been for a long time. Big E is eventually due back, and he will change that, I'm sure. But at the moment, they don't feel important. The Usos, however, have felt important for more than a year now. They are top level, and they've worked with almost every tag team now. There's very few people they haven't beaten yet. Kind of the only person Jey Uso hasn't beaten is Roman Reigns. After all, if you scroll all the way back to the I Quit Hell in a Cell match, these two got beef. These two got some serious beef. And I might suggest that eventually they're going to need to squash that beef. They're going to need to have the ceremonial wiping of the slate clean. Or, take the hatchet and bury it. Bury the hatchet. One of these things may eventually have to happen, or, as it's a world of wrestling, what is more likely is that they're going to beat the ever-living piss out of each other, and they'll call it sorted. Stuart says, as regards the Usos, would love to see them versus FTR. Your wish may indeed be coming true. Sean says, must not have plans for Nia. We haven't seen her since the Rumble. We don't seem to have, no. I'm very surprised they released merch for a one-night thing, but hey, stranger things have happened. Very much stranger things have happened. Just a heads up as regards FTR. The decision has not yet been made. Under Triple H, the contact was made and interest was clear. FTR wanted to return and work under Triple H. They were not particularly happy under Tony Khan in AEW. They've communicated that to basically anyone who will listen recently, including the crowd at Royal Quest in October here in London a New Japan show where I was in attendance. They were very open about the fact that they were not very happy under Tony Khan. That said, now that Vince McMahon is back, FDR are having a rethink of the concept. They're suddenly not so sure of their place or their intention. Just as one additional aside, as regards Randy Orton, I will be providing an update and putting a video together, and that will be released on Wednesday. So on Wednesday, there'll be an update on Randy Orton. Actually, wait. Sunday. I forgot what day it was. On Sunday, there'll be an update on Randy Orton. Jey and Jimmy backstage. Jey hitting it hard that he's never going to let him down. You might suggest that he's never going to give him up. Never going to let him down. Never going to run around and desert him. Paul Heyman is hovering behind a pillar. The bloodline is seriously fractured. He's holding a phone, and imagine it's Roman. Jimmy didn't ask about bloodline. Jimmy just cared that he was there for him. Paul Heyman is not sure of his place in the bloodline right now. Natalya is in the ring of a microphone. Not often she gets a chance to speak. This is the ideal moment for a Shayna Baszler and a Ronda Rousey. Just as an FYI there. Mr. Stumble would like to see CM Punk versus Dominic Mysterio. CM Punk versus Rey Mysterio was a really interesting feud. It happened a few times, and their first match at pay-per-view was terrible. The two had no chemistry whatsoever. They had a couple of future matches in which their chemistry was incredible. It doesn't make that much sense, but it happened. It happened. Dominic says, who is your favourite tag team? Man was Demolition till they turned Smash into Repo Man. Difficult. Growing up, it was the Hardy Boys. I was a huge Matt Hardy fan. Nowadays, it's harder to say. We've seen a very good collection of tag teams recently. I liked the Viking Profits. Not quite a tag team, though. That said, I think the best tag team match that WWE have put on has been the Hell in a Cell between the New Day and the Usos. So one of those. Ronda Rousey's name has been dropped. She coming. Thomas says, fun fact, the first pinfall that Roman took was against Jey, and the last one will be as well. Sean says, do you believe the bloodline will be intact through Mania? No. Not even slightly. Shayna Baszler, with a microphone, is heading out to talk to Natalya. That was a very short promo. Kind of suggests maybe they don't have the highest of faiths in her speaking abilities, unfortunately. Christoph can't wait anymore for Ronda. Mr. Stumble has just been a bit triggered. Dark Society says, is WWE still splitting up the titles after WrestleMania? Yes. Shayna Baszler wants some respect. There are two different chants going on. People can't seem to decide what they're supposed to be saying. Sean says, no interest in EC3 from Triple H? Nope, none whatsoever. Again, lots of talk about Ronda Rousey. Natalya is clearly very distracted here, and she's wearing boots that suggest she's about to be hit and just fall immediately. And oh look, it's Ronda Rousey. And yes, as traffic says, cut off Shayna as well now. Ronda Rousey seems to be wearing a very similar attire to Natalya. And she's wearing the eye makeup. So she might not be in wrestling gear, but she made sure to get eye makeup on. What I will say is she's wearing better footwear than Natalya. Bit of a stare down between Ronda and Shayna. There's not going to be any actual feud there. Shayna's going to sort of bend the knee. And the bullying begins. As I said, as soon as Natalya fell, she ain't getting up. Does she have any backup? Does Natalya have friends? She's betrayed basically everyone. There's a point at which you've been in the company so long, they've got no friends. Like, oh, Shotzi apparently. This is Shotzi's return from injury, isn't it? Oh no, she was in the Rumble. This would be an ideal time for a Raquel or a Liv. Or Charlotte, to be fair. I would suggest what this means is that next week we're going to get Ronda and Shayna versus Natalya and Shotzi. Thus formally putting Ronda and Shayna into the tag division, as we discussed when Ronda first returned. Dark Society says putting Ronda Rousey with Shayna is the best they could do. Yeah, I think it's genuinely a good thing. It'll create opportunities for Shayna. It's just given Shotzi an opportunity there. They'll be in a tag match next week, likely. Just based off this that I'm seeing. We'll see Damage Control, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. The women's tag division is getting some serious love. Jey Uso has run into Sami Zayn backstage. This is going to be very interesting. Jay's not sure how this is going to go. I think Sammy's about to say thank you. He is saying thank you. There is still a respect between these two men. Sammy's asking for backup here. There's lots of background noise. Makes it feel a bit more lived. Oh, ho ho ho. Is he gonna? Jay's not gonna give him respect back. Oh no, he is. Come on. Come on. A moment of respect between the two men. What happens next? I don't know. I still think Jay and Jimmy are going to split away from Roman. But if Jay wants Roman, then how does Cody Rhodes fit in all this? This is the most confusing thing about it all. Cody Rhodes does not fit this story in any way, shape or form. There has to be, for Cody, a completely separate story being told. Now, don't get me wrong. I still think the Cody story is being told quite well, and I'm interested in where they're going. But it's so separate from the world that the Bloodline and Sami Zayn have created. It does not fit in. Every part of the story that they're telling is supposed to be ending at Elimination Chamber. It ends, and then it's all about Cody. Logically, then, the Usos are falling back in line. And the Bloodline is getting back together stronger than ever. Isn't that the only option? I'm so confused, and I'm so happy. Patrick says he's going to cost Sami the title against Roman. I don't want it, but I do still agree that that is the most likely scenario. Traffic says, I thought Sami leaving the Bloodline would answer all our questions, and I think I'm more confused than ever. Same. And Sean says, I still don't think Jay is a face. He's on the fence. And I'm willing to take a stand in defense of the fence. Sometimes you've just got to wait for the opportune moment. Part of the pirate code. Mr. Stumble says, what if Roman has 2 matches over 2 nights over 2 belts? Loses to Cody night 1 and loses to Sami on night 2 with Jay costing him. Neither of those are going to happen. He will just be wrestling Cody Rhodes. I've asked the question so many times and always been told consistently the same answer. There is only going to be Cody versus Roman. Sami Zayn will not be facing Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Elimination Chamber is where the Sami story ends. Then he moves on to Jey Uso and the tag titles, which tells me that Jey is not going to be a face here. They very clearly made a face turn during Royal Rumble, but it's a bait and switch. It's a swerve. It's all going to go wrong. This is a very difficult play they've got here. So it says, after next Saturday, they need people to be ready to see the end of Sami Roman and ready to move on to Mania. They're not going to get there in time. Uphill battle. No, it is too soon. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. That said, people weren't ready to see the end of Roman versus Drew McIntyre at Clash at the Castle, and they got on with it. People weren't ready to see Kofi Kingston no longer as champion, and yet Brock Lesnar just took it. Sometimes the WWE has to sort of give you what you need by force. Christoph says, Sami or his family, Jey will choose his brotherhood for sure, but that story is gold. And that is the big question. Jey will choose Jimmy. So what will Jimmy choose? LA Knight is backstage. He's not talking about his match at the Royal Rumble. He's being interviewed. He doesn't want to talk Bray Wyatt anymore. And I heard the fans shout yeah there. It looks like we're going to forget that whole thing, and LA Knight has now been firmly established. That's not a bad place to be. That moment when we can all just sort of get on with our lives. It's not a bad place. Next up is our women's tag team match. We have 40 minutes left and 2 matches to go through. Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green just sort of getting in each other's way. We're going to see Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. This, of course, is to firm up that idea of the two of them as a tag team, ready to get involved at WrestleMania. Thank you very much, Horsey, for a very generous donation. It says, smash those likes. I appreciate that, sir. We do currently have 50 viewers and only the 20 likes. In the words of one of my favourite wrestlers of all time, what's up with that? Please remember to hit like as you enter the room as well. And if you haven't done so yet, click subscribe. We're currently sitting at 2,138 subscribers. Two more gets us to 2,140. And Horsey, I want to say thanks again for that donation and congratulations to you. At the moment, your channel has less subscribers than me, but you are growing faster than I am. Well done, you. Sean says, Tegan in the Battle Royal at WrestleMania? Seems so, yes. Certainly the Battle Royal has a lot more bodies than it did previously, and I'll be interested to see who wins it. If it's completely out of nowhere, I'd be very excited, to be fair. But at the moment, the women involved in the chamber seem to be the ones around whom there are plans for. Natalya, not so much. Carmella, not so much. Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville, no chance. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez right now are being built up for a WrestleMania match. Sean says Roman might put Jey in the same position and he put Sami at the Rumble, and Jey actually hits Sami. I think that's certainly possible. Jey won't be happy about it, but he'll do it. He'll do as he's told. Dark Society says, the big question, will the crowd turn on Cody Rhodes? No, I don't believe that they will. You guys will be fully aware that I've done a number of polls. I've asked the question a number of times as to whether you think it's all about Sami or Cody. And people did prefer people did vote Cody repeatedly. So I still think there's a lot of love for Cody Rhodes, and I think they're going to be able to take full advantage of that. Oh, lovely knee from Sonya Deville on Liv Morgan. It's been a while since these two have been in a ring together. They always have some good chemistry. Christoph says it's going to be Liv and Raquel. Too bad for Tegan. Just in check. Much the same. Tegan, and I'm going to try and make an impression. I can do better than that. You've got to actually close your eyes. How's that? That work? Either way, it's bad. Oh God, I can see it. I've got the low latency side on. I look terrible. But it's accurate. No, that's right. Also says, thanks mate, analytics are amazing. It's amazing what controversy does. Yeah, the chart has definitely worked in your favour. Says, thanks to you as well, mate. I've learned some great ideas from watching yourself. Thank you kindly. I take that as a great compliment considering how well you're doing. Will says, like you said, they're already showing you that Ronda is going to be in the tag division. They are indeed. It was a while ago I first reported that Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler would be in the tag division for WrestleMania. Let's not forget that this time last year I was reporting that Sasha Banks and Naomi would be in the tag division. Well, technically, to be clear, I reported that Sasha Banks would be in the tag division. I did not know at the time that Naomi would be her partner. Sean says, Carmella is still the reigning WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal Champion. That will not last much longer. It'll be an interesting subplot, I feel. So far, no one has tagged in on this match. Logically, Chelsea's there to get beaten up, and in fact Sonya's just hit her, and Raquel's there to do some serious beating. Liv has tagged Raquel over the top rope. That was quite smooth. In fact, no, smooth is the wrong word. It wasn't entirely smooth, but it was quite impressive. She's just clubbing Sonya Deville down. I know that on SmackDown they're trying to push Raquel as a massive powerhouse. You don't want to put her side by side with Rhea Ripley. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say. Sonya Deville cleverly grabbing a rope. You don't see enough of that during the course of a normal match. Usually the ropes are just one big spot, and I feel you could use them more often as a way to make it less expected. Chelsea Green is not prepared for a tag, but she's got the tag rope, so she's being tagged. I don't understand the complaint. She's in a tag match. Get it? Oh no, terrible. Chelsea Green did not get in that ring at all. Worked for the character. Worked for the character of a massive coward. And she's ran to Sonya. Here's the thing. This is a good thing. They've just been paired up as a tag team. They don't necessarily know each other. They don't necessarily seem very interested in working together. Surely, they're not going to have much chemistry. They're going to get in each other's way a little bit. There's no downside to that. Takes Oblivion fairly well, though. That's a double finish. And now they're going to use a tag team move. Love the little powerbomb. I like the rotation into it. Liv and Raquel showing off at least one tag team move, which makes it very, very clear where they're headed. Dark Society says 2023 is already shaping up for a big year for WWE. It's going to be an important one. It's going to be... Chelsea Green is laying on the floor tapping out. Little details like that really make me happy. Just tapping out. Madcap Moss and Emma backstage. Madcap has an opportunity here. Sean says, is Ronda still booked to face Becky? No, Ronda and Shayna will be in the tag team championship picture. Becky Lynch will be facing Bayley. That pivot was a while back. I reported on it at the time. Traffic says, damn, last year you were reporting Sasha was going to be in a tag team. Now she's not even in WWE. What a difference a year makes. Yeah, I know, right? Disappointing, but we are where we are. Says Raquel is my way too early 2024 Rumble winner prediction. I think Raquel may well be a Money in the Bank winner. Raquel versus Rhea Ripley seems like it's got everything you need for a main roster big time feud. Christoph says, how about a fatal four-way at WrestleMania? Damage Control versus Ronda and Shayna versus Liv and Raquel versus Natty and Shotzi. Then again, why not just put Shotzi and Tegan back together? If you're going to do 2 teams, you might as well do 3 teams. If you're going to do 3 teams, you might as well do 4 teams. It's a tag team championship match. I think back to Sasha Banks and Bayley versus Nia Jax and Tamina versus Beth Phoenix and Natalya versus the Iconics. That was one of those times where they had the tag teams and eventually they just said, screw it, just throw them all together and see what happens. So they did. The match was alright. I enjoyed it. It's been completely overshadowed by the injury to Nia Jax and the reporting afterwards from Pro Wrestling Sheet, which was then bought out by Sportster anyway. But it's one of those where the match itself was alright and well worth a revisit. Why not do it again? Justin says, Raquel, get your own damn partner. Traffic says, I hope Sonya wins Money in the Bank. I really want a little reign for her sooner than later. To be fair, consider the following. This is how Sami Zayn was about a year ago. he was losing and losing and losing. Sonya Deville in the exact same position right now. There's no real downside to this. Yes, she is losing a lot of matches, but she's proving reliability. She's always been a great talker. You just give her one great storyline, just one, and watch her fly. Dominic says, who do you predict will win Money in the Bank? Hard one. There's a lot of strong options. I think this could be a good year for another Seth reign, to be honest. Then you get Seth Cody element. But I don't know. Austin Theory hovering around Cody Rhodes, that could be quite interesting. But he's been the most recent one. Who's high level and actually stands a chance? Gunter. I'd have him win it while still Intercontinental Champion. Gunter to win the Money in the Bank. Yeah, I'm locked in on that. As regards the women, I'd like it to be someone like Shayna. I think Shayna could do well with it, especially with Ronda in her corner as well, just hovering around waiting for their opportunity. My suspicion, though, is that it's going to be someone like Bianca, so that Bianca is still considered one of the top names. Dark Society believes the Usos are the greatest tag team of the modern era. Christoph says you seem to be a Sonya fan, Tom. To your point, I believe she's way too underrated. Yeah, I'm a big Sonya Deville fan. I really liked the YouTube videos she and Mandy used to make with the donut shops. Really used to like those. Also, I feel she has a unique and diverse style that no one else in the WWE has, but she's never been able to show it. She's never been in a match for long enough, apart from like the SummerSlam match against Mandy Rose. But let's be honest, she had other things on her mind at that point. And it's very disappointing to me that someone took away a very, very promising and exciting career. Very promising and exciting career with that home invasion. There is no justification for it. And the effects are still being felt. Traffic said it worked for Miz when he was US champ. Dominic says, love your show. Gonna put my kid to bed now and watch some old school WWF. Good night, Tom. See you next week. See you next week, Dominic. Hope you have a good one, mate. Great to see you. And Keyshawn also agrees that Sonya is really underrated. Sean says, I have seen many fans not understanding why Triple H values Raquel over Dakota. Triple H does not value Raquel over Dakota. Raquel is not currently a champion. Dakota is a current tag team champion. Has won multiple championships since coming to the main roster. Admittedly, all tag team championships, but still. Whereas Raquel Rodriguez is featured a lot less on TV. And admittedly, while she is treated as more of a powerhouse, that's because she is more of a powerhouse. Sean also says, a Ronda Money in the Bank win. I don't think that's impossible. I think having her hover around everybody would be terrifying, and that's a good thing. Ramji says, like, subscribe, done. Thank you, Ramji. I appreciate that. It's very nice. Very nice thing to do. Very nice thing to say. Every like goes a long way. Every comment goes a long way. Every subscription goes a long way. So I appreciate you for helping out and helping the growth of this channel. Thank you, Ramji. Is there any question you'd like to ask? Any comment you'd like to make on SmackDown or wrestling in general? By all means, jump in. Or if you'd prefer to lurk, by all means, do that as well. Michael Cole is interviewing Charlotte Flair backstage about Rhea Ripley's challenge. Dark Society says, hopefully when you give us an update on Randy Orton on Wednesday, let's hope he can continue to wrestle. I did misspeak on that, just a correction. I misspoke. I meant Sunday. I forgot what day it was. Sunday, I'll be recording and uploading the video on Randy Orton. I've got a few notes. I'm still chasing a couple of details, but once I have it all together, I will compile and prepare that video for Wednesday. Charlotte making reference to their previous WrestleMania match. Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair have been the best of rivals for a while. They very much bring the best out of each other. Rhea Ripley destroying Beth Phoenix will be very, very good preparation for this match. Note what I've been saying. Beating Beth Phoenix is all about getting Rhea Ripley up to Charlotte's level. What question did Michael Cole just ask? There are little ways I'll let you know that I know what I'm talking about. Dark Society says, what's your favourite WrestleMania moment? There's been some good ones. I've had some very fun watches recently. Seth Rollins and his cash-in is certainly up there for me. But if I had to go for one, it's the end of my favourite WrestleMania match. The main event of WrestleMania 12, the Iron Man match between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. The childhood dream had come true, in overtime as well. I think a large part of that comes down to the fact that I was 10 when I was watching it back, and it still holds a certain magic to me. Plus, of course, as you learn more about that, you realise these two genuinely hated each other, and that's entertaining too. It adds a lot overall to the entertainment value. I don't know. Something about those two is automatically entertaining. Thank you, Ramji. Appreciate that. Sean says, Charlotte has been back 2 months now. I'm surprised fans haven't turned yet. I don't think fans are decided as of yet. I don't think they're on her side 100%. That's certainly not the case. Working against Rhea Ripley is going to add an additional difficulty because Rhea Ripley is a real cool heel. You might suggest she's a failed heel because you don't want to boo her. I don't want to boo her. She's too fun. Scarlett Bordeaux is in the ring as Karrion Kross makes his entrance. Tonight we get Rey. I don't feel that this entrance works too well live. I just don't. If you don't get the black and white, which you won't because you're seeing it with your own eyes and your eyes don't get turned black and white by TV screens, then all you're going to get is the normal lighting and then red lighting. Scarlett, stop it. Stop it. Madcap Moss next in, though I will say, when you see the Scarlett entrance and the Karrion entrance, it's certainly very different from Madcap Moss walking down and being like, yeah, yeah. But then that's what Edge does. He comes down and he goes, yeah. But it works for Edge because you know who he is already. Triple H has always sworn by a big entrance. When he first broke away from DX, started to join the corporation, and you heard, it's my time. That was very telling of where he was headed. And he kept building on that entrance to the point of spitting the water. That became a Triple H thing, and still is. He's the one working with Karrion Kross and saying, you need a unique, entertaining entrance. He's the one who worked with Bobby Roode with the Glorious. And it was. It was. He could probably benefit a lot from working with Madcap Moss. I'm not particularly happy with the fact that I don't believe Santos Escobar had a backstage promo. Karrion Kross did. Rey Mysterio did. Who's the other one? Madcap Moss. Madcap Moss did. I don't believe Santos Escobar did. Bit of a letdown. He's getting a picture-in-picture. That's jobber status. Hector says, happy Friday, Tom, but watching Charlotte cut a promo as a face, knowing she's better as a heel, feels weird. Any chance we could see a double turn with her and Rhea at Mania? I don't find it likely. But, at the same time, if Bianca Belair is coming over, as I believe she is, she's going to need Rhea Ripley as a heel. Because Bianca versus Rhea Ripley could be what sees us through to SummerSlam. Sean says, do you see Kyrie returning over Mercedes? Nope. Christoph says, don't know about you, Tom, with this Charlotte Rhea thing. I'm not really into it. I believe it should have been Bianca versus Rhea, but that's just my opinion. I do think we're still going to see Bianca versus Rhea, but I think we'll see a draft element to that. Traffic says, I think Charlotte and Rhea can do a masterful backstage segment, maybe even close to a modern-day Rock Austin pre-Mania 17 level. They have a lot of history. A lot of history that you can really take advantage of in that element. Sean says, is it me or is Karrion losing muscle definition? I've not really had a close look at him, to be completely honest with you. Not really had a close look. Dark Society says, my favourite wrestling moment on Monday Night Raw growing up is when DX came out like Vince and Shane. Here's the thing. I was way too old for DX at that point. I'm older than you, clearly, Dark Society, but I was way too old at that point for any DX antics. Oh, Gunter and Imperium are in a box with a cameraman who they're just ignoring. It must be like part of the lessons that you get when you first start in the performance center. Hey, you see his cameraman? No, you don't. Well, no, he's right there. No, well, he's not. He's not. You don't see any cameraman. No, but he's right there. No. That cameraman does not exist. Don't look at the cameraman. Don't look at the don't look directly into. You look at it. Look. Stop looking into the camera. Stop. All right. Fine. To be fair, Gunter's not big for eye contact anyway. Hector says, I love how you mentioned that Triple H is big on entrances and then Santos comes out looking like a star. Love to see it. You can see the people that Triple H has spent more time working with. Then you see Madcap Moss. He's like, you've got time now, Triple H. You're in charge of creative. Be creative. I don't know, Triple H always cared more about that than Vince McMahon did, but that's not a bad thing. After all, Vince McMahon, he wasn't everybody's favourite. There you go, I've nailed it. He wasn't everybody's favourite. Christoph says, don't know how old you were in 2006, Tom. I was 24 and that DX stuff cracked me up. I wasn't watching at that time. And 2006... I'd have been younger. I'm 34 now. So 10 years ago is 2013. At which point I would have been 24. So I'd have been 17. And still too old for that DX stuff for me. But as I say, I wasn't watching at the time. Is that nice, Ramji? I wasn't watching at the time. So I moved across the country. So I watched... from when I was 10 in 1988. Nope, I was born in 1988. When I was 10 in 1998 until 2001. So 3 years later, I was 13. Then we moved across the country, and I didn't watch again seriously until 2014. I missed the entire first brand split, the entire thing. I went back and caught up with some of it, but you can't catch up to all of it. You just can't. There's too much. Way too much. So I just went back sort of on a whim and chilled. Hector says, Madcap Moss's entrance gives me WWE 2K created wrestler entrance. Yeah, a little bit. To be fair, his gear doesn't really help that, does it? And Sean says, do you think Roxanne has a long reign? A fairly long reign? I don't see her having a Mandy Rose reign. Tends to be in NXT, heels have the long reigns and faces have the short reigns. Yeah, short reigns. They are advertising for next week. Drew McIntyre and Sheamus versus the Viking Raiders again. This is a match that was considered for Elimination Chamber, but they decided to keep it off the card and have it on Overflow as well. Triple H, as you know, likes shorter cards. And look, next week, Shotzi and Natalya versus Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler will be treated as a tag team going forwards as they continue to rebuild the division. Liv and Raquel will be on the agenda for them shortly. Karrion Kross and Rey Mysterio split off, Santos and Madcap Moss on the other side. Let's not forget that Karrion Kross also destroyed Madcap Moss previously. It's a very, very clear dynamic here. They've got two faces, two heels. They've got two powerhouses and two more athletic gentlemen. They've got a good combination here, I feel, to make a bit of magic. And this is part of their thinking. It's no longer the case that they'll just sort of pick four names out of a hat. They're not going to pick four names out of a hat and go, okay, these guys. It's no longer the case, like it was under Vince, that you'll pick four of the biggest name stars in that division and say, okay, well, you're great, just go and make it happen. Instead, they will pick a variety of different people based on who they think will have better chemistry in a match. Karrion Kross has a good opportunity here. I don't see him winning a match. Santos Escobar and Karrion Kross just basically a miscommunication and not doing any damage to each other. That's confusing. Christoph says, I just realised we're talking about a segment from 17 years ago. I'm getting old, my friends. Me too, mate. Me too. Not as old as you, but me too. Me too. The crowd are not really into this at the moment. The pace has slowed significantly already, which is never a great start. They'll get behind Rey. Rey Mysterio, very popular man. Karrion Kross with a save there because Rey was short. I don't mean Rey was short, I mean the jump was short. The short boot from Karrion Kross, also quite short. It's difficult. Santos back in play, going for the throw. Karrion Kross has been the linchpin so far. He's been the centre of everything. Rey Mysterio is clearly where the focus is, but Karrion Kross has been the linchpin. You get what I'm saying? Madcap Moss, I feel, he has the least storyline here. He's obviously connected with Karrion Kross already, but Karrion Kross is connected with everyone. Santos Escobar's connected with Karrion Kross, but Madcap Moss, he seems to have the least storyline, as it were, at the moment. Santos had some great matches with Ricochet. He's been heavily involved in high-quality matches, but he has been picking up losses. Also, then Madcap Moss does that, where he just sort of runs back and forth. He has a lack of range when it comes to his wrestling that's concerning me. Sean says, did you see John Cena in a skirt and heels? Must be for a movie. Or he just looks pretty. Maybe he just wants to look pretty. Of course, now's not the time, especially if he's in Florida. If he's in Florida, he's in trouble. He gonna get in trouble. And now, the powerhouses have done their thing. We have Escobar and Rey Mysterio in the ring, and it looks like these two are going to get given a little bit of time. Scarlett and Emma are both on the outside. We're seeing plenty of Emma because of where she is in relation to the camera. She's on hard cam side, which is smart, and so you should be. Scarlett should be on hard cam side as well, ideally. Oh, she's in a corner about as best as you can get, near the commentary table where they do tell people to go. Oh, lovely drop kick. Lovely drop kick there. We haven't really seen a lot of move back to Gunter. They are focusing on the actual wrestling at the moment. The athleticism is real. We're seeing a lot of good action between these two. We haven't seen a lot of offense from Santos yet. I stand corrected. Okay. Zelina Vega is the one near the commentary table. Scarlett is the one on the other side. So the only person who actually doesn't have backup out there is Rey. Maybe Rey needs a manager. Maybe Rey needs maximum male models. Bit of a miscommunication there between Mysterio and Escobar. Oh, we're going to get the flippy side and then we're going to get a commercial break. Christoph says, so amazing to see Rey still competing at this level at his age and with all those knee surgeries he had through the years. He's basically been rebuilt from the ground up, but he's making it work. Escobar is a torpedo there. A flying headbutt into Madcap Moss. Everyone's on the floor. We head up to look at Gunter and we're on commercial break. Our final commercial break of SmackDown, which provides us with a great opportunity to talk for a minute about how SmackDown's been overall. Poor. Everything with Sami Zayn and Jey Uso was great. I really enjoyed it. Everything involving Paul Heyman has been great. I really enjoyed that. We've seen some good moments from Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, for example. Drew McIntyre looked good. Sheamus looked good. But it's been squashes. Even the Tag Team Championship match didn't last very long. The women's tag match, squash. The Lacey Evans match, squash. The tag match that opened the show, squash. It's just been a bit of a nothing show. Which is strange when you consider we've seen development. Sami and Ray had some good storyline development. Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler developed because they were moving into the tag division. We've seen Liv and Raquel work together. It just... something is missing from this show. But it's SmackDown, which means usually, unfortunately, what's missing is Roman Reigns. And you can feel that. You can feel the lack of a top quality star. Maybe we need a bit more Charlotte. Maybe we need Solo Sikoa. Maybe we needed Drew McIntyre to be there for more than 5 minutes. I don't know. It's missing something. Christoph says, I believe the SmackDown roster is just too weak and star powerless compared to Raw. Hopefully the draft will fix that. A movement for someone like Bianca Belair, Judgment Day, Rhea Ripley being a permanent fixture. We've got opportunities there. But they need some more people from the top level of SmackDown. I would like to see maybe a Seth Rollins-Drew McIntyre trade. Especially when you consider that we are likely to lose Sami Zayn from SmackDown. Sami Zayn is very likely to be going to Raw. Very likely at this point in time. So we have to factor that in as well. Maybe on Wednesday we'll do our early draft predictions. As a point, if I'm going to do my draft predictions, would you prefer it in a video or would you prefer it live? Or would you prefer that I do it live and then create a summary video? What do people prefer? I've done it before, and in fact, during the brief time I was Twitch only, way back when, I did a spreadsheet. I was really proud of it. Not a spreadsheet, a PowerPoint. I was really proud of it. With all of my predictions. And then I enjoyed it so much that I did it all again on YouTube. Bear with me. I am all over the place today. I do apologise, guys. I've been burping. I've been coughing. I've been spluttering. I've been sneezing. It's awful. Brad says live. Christoph says live. Carmelina says live. Well, that seems like it's what we're going to go with. Christoph is saying live is more fun. We can exchange our ideas. Fair. Fair. And I can always just sort of edit it down and just create a video that way. With YouTube as it is right now, there are very, very clear separations. If I'm doing live videos, then YouTube very rarely advertises the live videos to people who only watch my videos. They're less likely to advertise the shorts to people who only watch live, and so on and so forth. So it's one of those where, because everything's so separate now, I can make a video and several shorts based on one live. I've been thinking about doing that for spoiler warning. Just taking like a minute of a piece of news and saying more spoiler warning. Sean says, do you think Alexa moves in the draft? I think that's certainly possible. If you're going to be teaming up with Bray Wyatt, you have to be on the same show as Bray Wyatt, same channel, surely. Weak spinebuster, my Madcap Moss there. I don't know how much of it is his fault. Honestly, I'm thinking Karrion Kross may have taken more of the blame for that one. No jump whatsoever. Moss showing off again. Madcap Moss, I definitely feel could benefit from a move. Unfortunately, I think that move might be to NXT. Santos is getting his moment of spotlight here, which makes it clear that he's not going to be winning. Rey Mysterio hovering behind, looking for an opportunity. Doesn't quite get it. Escobar once again looking too good. It's the Kane effect. So every time Kane would come into, for example, an Elimination Chamber match, he'd be the first one eliminated. He'd come in, chokeslam, 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 tombstone, tombstone. He'd look amazing. Then he'd get rolled up and he'd be done. And that'd be that. Because putting Kane in an Elimination Chamber match, not very smart. It's not very smart. There's not that much you can do with Kane, gotta be honest. Oh, lovely from Santos Escobar. Madcap Moss was late. Rey Mysterio had to kick out. Madcap Moss was late in stopping that pinfall. Karrion Kross is hiding right next to Zelina Vega. Zelina Vega undoubtedly is giving him instructions. Okay, stay down for now. I'll tell you when it's time, etc. You'd be surprised how often the people outside the ring are helping potential competitors. That's how it goes. I also like that Zelina Vega carries a mask around. You know, representing. Five minutes left. We're heading into the end game. Madcap Moss. Really awkward attempt at sitting down there. He was the wrong way around and just sort of refused to fix it normally. Lovely Hurricane Rana. Very good sell. Flat. Good kick out. Everyone's getting a good moment here. Apart from Karrion Kross. Oh, very, very, very sloppy clothesline there. I think Escobar choosing to go through the ropes. Not a great choice. Nobody's coming out of this looking great. Rey Mysterio, as you might expect, is the most refined in what he's doing. But nobody's coming out of this looking great. It's an awkward match. The 619 on Kross. I can't imagine Kross is going to be the one to take the pin. Surely Madcap's going to take the pin. Oh, Scarlett. Scarlett helping Karrion Kross, of course. Because Karrion Kross can't win a match on his own. Huge mistake there. Karrion Kross just standing, waiting for Escobar. Then when he goes into him, just sort of falling and rolling. Madcap Moss with the elbow drop. That could be it. That is it. Now, during spoiler warning, I did mention Madcap Moss was the favourite. It's the first name I mentioned. Go back and listen. Madcap Moss will take on Gunther. He can afford the loss because he's not a big name, but he does get a lot more spotlight on him. Rey Mysterio naturally will continue to build towards his incoming feud with Dominic. It's a good opportunity for Madcap, it just depends whether he takes it. That said, they've immediately moved away to Paul Heyman and Jimmy Uso. Roman has made a decree. Sean says, Madcap wins? I'm shocked. It's a good opportunity, as I say. Jimmy and Jey have been told to stay home next week for SmackDown. The clear suggestion is that Roman Reigns was watching on TV and saw Jey and Sami backstage. And that's how we end. That was anticlimactic. Christoph says, what a surprise to me. I was sure it would be Rey winning. Certainly, I think that would have made a lot of sense. For me, Madcap was the obvious choice. I just feel that Rey at this point in his career doesn't need it, and also he's already feuded with Gunther at times. Madcap Moss is new and fresh and a face. As we know, Gunther is a number 4 heel apparently. So it just doesn't make sense for anyone else to really have the opportunity. That was anticlimactic. Last week, after the Royal Rumble, I felt we had a really good show. Roman's involvement, chasing around Jey Uso, trying to work out where he is. Sami Zayn doing what Sami Zayn does best. That was a bad follow-up. I'm going to have to go away and think some more on this. But ultimately, that was our show. Sean says, I had Santos winning. We will be back on Monday for more spoiler warning. We will have a video on Randy Orton and his return schedule on Sunday, so all the information there. In the meantime, though, I hope everyone has had a... What the hell was that voice? I hope everyone has had a great time tonight. Even though SmackDown has been average, I certainly do feel the show is a lot better when I've got company. So I always appreciate having you guys here. Until Monday then, or on Sunday, depending on when you check us out, I've been Tom Colohue. You have been fantastic, and I'll see you all very soon.